welcome to Coach's Decision. Hello and welcome to Coach's Decision, a weekly talk show where we talk sports from the Bay Area and beyond. Joaquin is out this week, so my name is Thomas Todd. I'm going to be your host this evening. I have a couple of special co-hosts today. One is a close friend, one's a very distant relative. I've got Ruben Florez in studio today and my friend Derek Bozzo. How you gentlemen doing?
Very good, very good.
Pretty good, Thomas.
You answered one at a time. You guys are pros. Ruben, you work in radio. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm from KRKC News in King City. It's about an hour south of here.
Well, we have the Garlic City King right here, Derek from Gilroy.
Perfect.
So a couple of kings.
Yeah, so we just cover South County football games, high school games every Friday night. I color commentate, and actually last week I got a chance to do play-by-play, so that was pretty fun.
You are an up-and-coming young man. I really enjoyed meeting you. I went to a Sharks preseason media event, and I met Ruben there, and I really enjoyed him, so I wanted to have him on the show. Derek's been begging me to be on the show for 6 years. I've only had a show for like 4 months.
I've been begging you, yes.
You lean into your microphone, Derek. Talk into the microphone.
I've been begging you?
I wanted you on the show.
Statement or question?
You are a huge 49ers fan. You're one of the biggest 49er fans I know.
Oh, yes.
You tell everyone you have VD just to get them to to notice your Vernon Davis jersey.
Apparently I don't anymore. So.
You do not have VD anymore, but you are now on the Blaine Train.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What is it like to have a failed quarterback overtake your failed quarterback and lead to a win over an NFC South team? Is that too loaded of a question for you?
It's not too loaded, but seeing a couple touchdown passes doesn't hurt.
That is true. What I was impressed was red zone, because that's been the problem for the 49ers. And, Ruben, you can help us weigh in on this. The Niners have been getting down the field kind of okay, irregularly, but when they got down there, they haven't been punching it in. It's been all field goal fill. Ruben?
Yeah, I mean, no offense to the Niner fan over here, but I just feel like Atlanta is a little overrated. I mean, there's been times where they're on the road a lot, and the games that they should win, it's close, like against Tampa Bay at home. I mean, that was a home game, and they lost in overtime.
Or the pick six they had to pull out of their butts to win against Washington.
Exactly, and when you're playing a team that is starting Blaine Gabbert, who, I mean, wasn't really successful in Jacksonville.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah, and he actually had, I would say Blaine Gabbert actually had more help on the Jaguars than he does as the Niners. And San Francisco still comes, I don't know how they won. I mean, that just tells you how unpredictable the NFL is. But, I mean, I guess after one game, it's a little bit, it's a little bit short reaction, I guess. But, I mean, we'll see how it goes from here.
Let's get that short reaction from the optimist.
I just wanted to see at least not passes in someone's feet. Someone catching a pass. Honestly, I thought about it in the preseason. Blaine Gabbert looked pretty good. Colin Kaepernick looked uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was, you got the first team, second team thing going on in preseason, and no one's really figured out what they're doing, what the game plan is. But honestly, it kind of never really panned out for Colin throughout the season.
Are the Niners just going to be a training camp team from now on, where their backup quarterback's always going to look better and end up supplanting their starting quarterback?
I hope not.
Are you guys just going to cycle through quarterbacks like the Chicago Bears?
That's a recipe for success, right?
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be happening.
What's one of the funniest things, and my friend Andrew and I used to do this, is pull up the list of Bears quarterbacks since 1985, since they won the Super Bowl. A, it's an enormous list, and B, there are some names on there. Todd Collins, starting with McMahon, but then, Harbaugh for a little bit, Eric Kramer, Cade McNown. The list is horrible, and you don't want the Niners to go that way because they have that tradition of
it's like
Young
the Dolphins
and Montana.
Since Marino.
Oh, yeah, they've been a mess.
Or the Browns. I mean, that list is long.
The Vikings have another big list. But you mentioned the Dolphins. They can't get a running back either, so the Dolphins can't really get much of anything going. Let's move on to some teams who are pretty good. I want to talk about the Panthers because they've won their last 12 regular season games. They had a kind of a down year to start last year, ended up finishing 8-1, making the playoffs. Then they won 8 straight games to win this to start this season. Cam Newton's not putting up flashy numbers, Ruben. This team's winning, though. Does that impress you?
I mean, it does impress me. I would say, in my opinion, I feel like they're a little bit overrated. I know they're 8-0, but they're
not getting the kind of attention that an overrated team would normally get.
Right. I don't feel their record should be what it is.
Of course.
They are. I mean, they had a convincing win against Green Bay last week. I mean, that was impressive. I didn't expect them to win. I picked Green Bay. And so far they've proven in the big games they're holding them off. Even on primetime Monday night, they let the Colts come back and tie the game 17 unanswered. But I mean, I don't know what to say about Carolina. Like they're probably one of the worst 8-0 teams I've seen, and I'm expecting a loss pretty soon.
Okay, we could have said the same thing about the Broncos had they gone at 8-0. Any thoughts on the Panthers, Derek?
One word, Gregatron.
Greg Olsen, he played every snap in last week's game.
All my fantasy teams.
Greg Olsen is a machine.
Yes.
That and you didn't see Cam Newton with a Gatorade towel over his face this season.
That's true. Good point.
None of those moments where he's covering his face up.
Or that little kid telling him that his Cam Newton or his mom's favorite quarterback or whatever that commercial was.
Oh yeah, that's
I love that commercial. Well, let's talk about the Packers then, because 6-0, you know, everyone thought they're a juggernaut. They're one of the most storied NFL franchises. They have the best quarterback. Now they're 6-2. You know, Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and tell everyone to relax. But are you relaxed, Derek?
I'm not with the running back situation, not at all.
Okay, but James Starks is pretty consistent.
He's serviceable. Yeah, he was there for the Super Bowl run, right?
Yeah, but teams win Super Bowls with running backs like this. You know, the Colts won with Joseph Adai and Dominique Rhodes. You know, you don't need a bruiser like Eddie Lacy, and if he doesn't look good, get him out of the game. Ruben?
Yeah, I mean, James Starks, he's pretty good, but, I mean, Lacy, he does not look the same. From what I saw last year to this year, I know his injuries hurting him, but and then the Packers also, Jordy Nelson, I mean, they're obviously hurting big time with that. It doesn't seem, I mean, Rodgers has Cobb, but it just doesn't seem like there's really a go-to man, and Nelson was always that. So
I think it's actually, the numbers are fleshing out that it's all smoke and mirrors for the Packers. They're 26th in passing yards in the league. 26th with Aaron Rodgers. They're 12th in points, so they're putting points on the board out of guile, you know, and that can get you places, but it's not going to get you gaudy number totals if you have to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl, or you have to. I can't even think of a good team in the NFC. That's how sad the NFC is right now.
Exactly.
But they may be able to get a home playoff game if they can have a good enough record, but Minnesota's right there.
They're right behind them. The Vikings look good, too. They have a defense. They have a running back. Those are the two recipes you need to make the playoffs. I mean, as long as Bridgewater stays healthy, I think he's going to play this week against the Raiders. But, I mean, that's a team to look out for in the NFC North. They're good.
The Vikings' defensive line is scary.
They're really good. Linval Joseph, he's having a year.
Everson Griffin, those are just terrifying men to line up against.
And their secondary, they're underrated. A lot of people don't talk about their secondary. It's top 10 in the game for sure.
Okay, we're going to take a break from talking about good teams to talk about a bad team and a bad player. The Dallas Cowboys' Greg Hardy. We've all now seen the pictures. We've all now heard the overreaction from the non-sports media, which pisses me off because I spend a lot of time reading these documents, analyzing them, forming an opinion, and then all of a sudden the story gains traction because pictures are out. Which, when you read the words, futon full of assault weapons, you know, and once you get past the futon part, or, you know, bruises all over her body, or treated for, you know, this or that, what changes with the pictures? Nothing to me. Does that change anything for you guys now there's photographs?
Well, he had the charges dropped, right?
He had them dropped because he paid her off, so she stopped cooperating.
They don't really have any traction.
No, but I'm just saying the pictures have traction. They're getting non-sports media to blow this story up. Why wasn't the story blown up earlier when all the facts were the same but there weren't photographs?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Ray Rice situation. No one thought it was a big deal until, I mean, you saw him knock his girlfriend out. I mean, domestic violence is just domestic violence. It doesn't matter how in context it is. I mean, that's a bad thing in itself. So I don't know why we need pictures for people to actually, you know, react the way they do.
You know why? Because people don't read.
Yeah.
What happens is you turn on TV or you turn on Twitter, you turn on the internet, and if you see something slide across before you swipe it, if you see it, it gets in your brain, and if it makes you angry, it makes you angry. It's much harder. You have to go and seek out words. You know, I have to go look for the Greg Hardy story. But when you're on Instagram or you're on Twitter or you're watching the news, they just flash the picture, and all of a sudden it's in your brain. So it just upsets me because we spend a lot of time focusing on sports and a lot of time reading. And the Eagles were spending a lot of time extra blocking Greg Hardy, and he looked terrible in that game. Lane Johnson, the offensive lineman for the Eagles, said he put, quote, extra mustard on his blocks of Greg Hardy. This guy can't even get NFL players to defend him, and they'll defend anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Cowboys, yeah, he's a good player, but I just don't think what they're going through is worth having him on the team. I mean, he's not like a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, the star of your team that's going to carry your team. He's just a defensive lineman. I feel there's defensive linemen out there that are going to be close enough to Greg Hardy. It won't be that much of a drop-off. So I just feel like the fact that Jerry Jones calls Greg Hardy a leader, that's not a leader. A leader is on and off the field. And when you beat your girlfriend or a female in that matter, you shouldn't be called a leader in any way. So that's what pissed me off when I heard that.
Well, and the problem is Jerry Jones is so insulated. He can't be touched. He's part of this 32-person membership club where no one can attack him. They just put Roger Goodell out to have all the stones thrown at him. No one can hit Jerry Jones with a stone at this point because he's such an institution. So he can say whatever he wants. He can hire whomever he wants. And the Cowboys aren't going to lose, that many fans. They're still America's team.
Well, you also saw that fiasco Hardy caused on the sidelines.
Yeah, shoving people, knocking clipboards. He can't control himself.
I don't think that's leadership.
No.
He has no self-control. He has no self-awareness. And in today's game, in today's society, you can't have that. If it's the 1970s, that's fine. You can go be a jerk, and no one will ever notice unless you're at the game because TV's not catching this stuff.
Yeah,
Twitter,
exactly.
There's no Twitter, there's no social media, there's no photographs of girls coming out. Ted Kennedy got away with driving drunk and killing a girl because of the era. That would never happen now. That man would never be a senator. And I'm not comparing what Greg Hardy did to what Ted Kennedy did, but I'm saying lack of judgment now is under scrutiny, and you have to be a saint. Just go do what Phillip Rivers does. Go have 8 kids.
Yeah, I heard about that. I was like, wow. And an NFL career, that's a busy life right
Him
there.
and Antonio Cromartie just never stop.
See, I said it. He didn't wear the bolo tie. He didn't wear the bolo tie last game. They lost.
I like your cockamamie theories. Okay, one more NFL team I want to talk about. Does Andrew Luck's injury out 2 to 6 weeks, probably closer to 4 to 6, the ruptured spleen, ruptured kidney?
Lacerated kidney.
Tearing his abdomen, too.
Can they still make the playoffs, Ruben?
Oh, I mean, with that division, anyone can make it. You have Tennessee, Jacksonville, and the Texans. I mean, okay, Houston is in Cincinnati. That's a loss. I mean, Jacksonville. Who are they playing this week?
Who cares?
Yeah, they're going to
some British team.
Okay,
Some
and
team in
Tennessee,
England.
and Tennessee has the Panthers. So, I mean, as long as they can somehow survive with Hasselbeck, he went 2-0 so far, they should be fine. Even if they're down a couple of games in division, when Luck comes back, they're okay. It's the AFC South. It's the worst division of football.
So they're 4-5. What is the least amount of games they can win? Can we have our first 6-10 division winner, Derek?
I have no idea.
7-9's been the bare minimum.
Painful. That'd be very, very painful to have a 6-10 division winner. I don't see it happening. I think they can win a couple more games than that.
If the Niners
with Matt Hasselbeck.
if the Niners and Colts both go 6-10, will you throw a hissy fit if the Colts make the playoffs?
I absolutely will.
I can't wait.
I will.
I'm going to root for that to happen. I'm going to have to root for the 49ers, which I don't like doing. I'm going to give you the Colts schedule, and I'm going to tell you they're absolutely going to make the playoffs. They're on bye this week. Then they play the Falcons, who Ruben hates, and everyone should hate because they're pretty terrible.
Julio.
The Buccaneers, who aren't bad.
Where's that at? Is it?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I didn't write that part. Steelers may not have Big Ben back. That's a tough game no matter what because they're the Steelers. But then they finish the season Jags, Texans, Dolphins.
Okay, that's where
You got
it
to
is.
be kidding me.
Yeah.
A team that should fire its coach, a team that should fire its coach, and a team that's already fired its coach.
It's bad. I mean,
Everything just goes their way.
I just don't get it. They signed all that talent in the offseason. I mean, yeah, Frank Gore and Andre Johnson are old, but they're still stars. They've proven themselves in the league, and for some reason, it's not panning out. I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
All right, we're going to go to some quick reads. If you want to support our show, you got to go to coachesdecision.ksco.com. Producer Tory is posting our picks there every week, but you can also click through to a couple of websites that would help us out greatly. Fanatics.com and FansEdge.com. They both have merchandise that you can shop. All sports, all varieties, great deals, much cheaper than you'd find in a retail outlet. You can order it from your own home. Everything's about 20% marked down. So go to coachesdecision.ksco.com. Click through to Fanatics.com and FansEdge.com. Please do that. It will support the show. All right, boys, cool your heels. We're going to talk some baseball, the slower sport, America's former sport, with my friend Daniel Zarchi. How you doing, Danny?
It's slower, but there's just as much domestic violence and other things to hate about.
That's
sports. Don't worry
true.
about that.
And it's a horrible thing to say, but I'm really interested to see how this Jose Reyes thing plays out. Because Jose Reyes is a much more established star than Greg Hardy. Maybe he doesn't have the quality of play right now that Hardy does. But Jose Reyes was in Hawaii with his wife or girlfriend, I can't remember, slammed her against a sliding glass door. The police were called. It was a real incident. I'm interested to see how MLB handles this as opposed to the NFL, because the NFL's bungled everything they've done in the last couple of seasons, and the NFL has specific policies spelled out for domestic violence that are much more clear than the NFL. So what do you think is going to happen in this situation?
Well, they're clear and they're also not clear. They basically say Rob Manfred, as the commissioner, can do whatever he wants. And so
that's much more clear than the NFL's, which is they make it up as they go along, and then in the end, no matter what they say, the NFL commissioner does whatever he wants. At least they just are up front with it.
Yeah, so, I mean, Manfred could I mean, could theoretically suspend Jose Reyes for a whole season or 50 games or, something along those lines. And something that's been pointed out a lot, and I think for good reason, is that if you look at Alexander Reyes, no relation, a pitching prospect for the Cardinals, he just got a 50-game suspension for smoking marijuana. So should it be more than that? I mean, should marijuana merit a 50-game suspension is, I think, a better question. But
yeah, I mean, that's its own question, but it is the same thing in the NFL when they talked about, guys get suspended 4 games for substance abuse or steroid abuse, and then Ray Rice gets suspended 2 for knocking a woman unconscious in an elevator, and it just didn't match up. So it is fair to bring in the 50-game suspension for marijuana, and I think the domestic violence has to be at least 50 games, if not closer to 80, half a season. Does that sound fair to you?
I mean, yes. I think you should just ban these people from the sport. Like, I don't really think that there's a limit to what they should do. I think a season. The question you have to ask yourself, and I really honestly wonder this, and I hope that most people who have not engaged in domestic violence would ask themselves this question: is what is going through your mind when you do this? I mean, do you think there's any element of Jose Reyes' mentality that was thinking, I shouldn't do this, I might face discipline from MLB? Right,
it's not a deterrent. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can do in someone's career to make it a deterrent. We've seen that as NFL players continue to Ray McDonald themselves or Alden Smith themselves, and I'm just trying to make Derek spit out his drink when I say those things. So, that wasn't going through his head. Anger was going through his head, hatred or whatever emotion it was.
He forgot Bruce Miller.
Oh, I forgot Bruce Miller. I never forget Bruce Miller. He sounds more like my deli counter guy than a guy who'd be in trouble with the law. But, so let's resolve this situation. Let's suspend him for 80 games. Does that get the public and the media off of MLB's back, or is this going to be a serious issue that continues on?
I mean, I think 80. Well, I would round it up to 81 games just for the fun of it.
80 and a half.
Make it in even half a season. But, is the question whether they need to do enough to get the public off their back, or do they need to do something more than that? I mean, if going back to the deterrent, if you're worried about a deterrent, then, I mean, I don't think any amount is actually going to be a deterrent. But if you want Rob Manfred to put on his commissioner's cap and say, I'm the man now, and here's what you do for sullying the good name of our sport, then yeah, I mean, that's good, or a whole season.
Ray Rice is on a domestic violence tour right now. He's basically going around preaching about the ills of domestic violence and how it affects, younger men, older men, professional athletes, non-professional athletes, and it is one of the most pervasive problems in our society, and he's become the champion of it. I do think MLB needs to step up. They have in recent years stepped up as far as equal rights for inclusiveness of homosexuals, and they've done a lot of good things, Major League Baseball. But this one they need to take an issue with and get ahead of it, because the NFL has fallen way behind, and all you have to do is make some modicum of effort. And you are interested in keeping the public off your back, because when they're off your back, they buy your tickets, they watch your games, and that's what MLB wants. They don't want their players to do this. They don't want the stigma that's attached to NFL players.
I mean, and the part that may come up and also directly ties this back to Ray Rice is, do you think the fact that Jose Reyes is no longer an all-star, no longer one of the top 20 to 30 players in the league,
right? You're more expendable.
Is going to relate to how this is accepted or how he's disciplined? Because a lot of teams took a really bold stance of not giving Ray Rice a job, and the Ravens cut him, obviously. But also, he was bad. He'd had a terrible season the year before, and he wasn't the star he used to be. If this were Troy Tulowitzki, if this were one of the rising stars of the league, if this were Chris Bryant,
Manny Machado, Andrelton Simmons, any other of those guys,
yeah, and somebody who the commissioner and everybody were counting on to bring the sport back to popularity or keep it up with popularity. I mean, do you think they would downplay this? Do you think they would act differently? I mean, I hope not, but
yeah,
I kind of do think they
and that's what we're going to find out, and that's why I brought this up, and we're going to keep up with this, Danny, every week. Let's switch gears a little bit. The tragic death of Tommy Hanson. You know, we saw him over the course of 5 seasons in the big leagues, a couple really good seasons, or at least one really good season with Atlanta, but he had a sub-4 ERA. He was a good pitcher trying to make his way back to the big leagues. And I have a special interest in this story because he's 29 years old. I just turned 29. And you don't like to see people our age drop dead. You don't like to see anyone drop dead. But especially people in and around 30, it's just disconcerting. How do you feel about this?
I mean, I feel awful, and which is, I think, how everybody should feel. And now they're saying maybe drugs or an overdose had something to do with his death. And I mean, that's just awful. You know, you said you're 29. I'm almost 29. You know, it reminds me of an article that our old friend Grant wrote for McCovey Chronicles about Tommy Hanson signing a minor league deal with the Giants just a few months ago. And, you know, there was a time when I think it was Ryan Vogelsong beat out Tommy Hanson for an all-star spot. And at the time, the thought was, well, that's okay because Tommy Hanson's one of the young stars of the league and he's going to be around for, you know, he's going to pitch for another 18 years and he'll have a day and, you know, let Ryan Vogelsong have this one. And, you know, it didn't really work out that way because his career was never what we kind of thought it would be. And now, you know, his tragic death. So,
well, I'm hoping we're not going to read a downward spiral story. I'm hoping we're not going to read something really tragic. You know, this could have happened to Josh Hamilton any number of times the way he's dealt with abuse in his life, and we're glad it hasn't because he's a very talented man who's trying really hard to fight off his addiction. So we'll keep up with this story, too, and we'll keep bringing you on to talk about baseball. Right now, Danny, we're going to switch over to our NFL picks with Victoria really quick, but before we do, we're going to talk about Woodstock's Pizza, who's one of our sponsors. Derek is nodding. 3 of the 4 people sitting at this table keep getting them checks from Woodstock's Pizza. But
yes.
Thomas, Woodstock's is single-handedly responsible for you and me being friends.
That's true. We used to go there, watch games, hang out, talk about why we couldn't meet girls, even though we were meeting girls every day because we were in college. What whiny...
At Woodstock's.
I know. What whiny guys were we back in the day? But it's a great place for pizza. Like I said, you can watch sports with your buddies. It's a great atmosphere. The music's loud enough you can have dirty conversations without anyone listening. We got guys come in, play Magic. We got baseball parties come in, softball parties. And there's a Woodstock's in every college town in California. San Diego, a couple of them there. Davis, Isla Vista, San Luis Obispo, Davis. I said Davis already. Chico. And right here in Santa Cruz, where Ruben came to visit us today.
Yes.
You guys are going to stay a little quiet. We're going to blow through these NFL picks real quick, Danny. Can we do it real quick?
Real quick.
Okay, so Joaquin's out of town. He's going to take a second bye week, and we might just bump him out of the league at this point. I don't think I want Joaquin in the league anymore. Tori's giving me the I don't know. I'm going to start with my first pick because we're going to go with Bills and Jets. I'm going to take the Bills plus 2.5. They're finally healthy. They're 4 skill position players on offense. Taylor, Watkins, McCoy, and Williams are all healthy and going to play. And I like Ryan Fitzpatrick, but not enough. I'm taking the Bills. Danny?
Bills. I'm taking the Bills. It's the Thursday, 2 good defenses. I'll just take the points.
Cool. Tori?
Gangrene all the way. Rex Ryan is doing his best to intimidate and pull stunts, but I don't think it's going to matter.
What do you know about gangrene? Give me a factoid about gangrene.
Oh, God, you don't want to know about gangrene.
Tell me.
You get green in the face when I talk about bones breaking.
No, I don't. I showed you my broken pinky, and I said,
simple.
tell me what happened to me, Victoria. Tell me why my pinky looks like this. Tell me something about gangrene.
It's a terrible infection and smells awful.
Okay. Speaking of smelling awful, Derek, the Seattle Seahawks are in our next game that we're going to talk about. I know you hate them. Cardinals getting 3 against the Seahawks. Victoria.
I kept saying that it's make or break for the Seahawks, and
Every week you say this.
I think it's that time's past. The Seahawks aren't going to fly the coop.
Do they coop? Just to Seahawk? See, first of all, there's no such thing as a Seahawk. So they have no coops. They have no children.
If they flew over the bay, would they be Bayhawks?
Bayhawk? It doesn't make any sense
It's the
either.
Seagulls, Bagels.
Bagels? She's off the rails. You pick the Cardinals?
Yes.
Danny, what do you pick?
I'm taking Cardinals. I think Carson Palmer is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and the legendary Legion of Boom has been not great. So I think the Cardinals win this.
All right, I'm taking the Cardinals too. It's in Seattle, but the Seahawks are 2-5-1 against the spread this season. They've become a public team after the last couple of years. The public loves to bet on Seattle because they've seen them in the Super Bowl, so they've been getting a lot of love. I'll take the former Heisman winner in prime time. Our last must-pick game, Bengals-Texans. I last got the spread at 10.5. You know who's favorite, Danny. Who you got?
I'm taking the Bengals. They cover against a bad team on a Thursday. They can cover against a bad team on a Monday.
I'm also taking the Bengals. We used to just on this show blindly bet against the Texans because we had to. We should have been blindly betting on the Bengals the whole season. They're 7-0-1 against the spread. We would be millionaires right now if we just rode the red rifle. Tori.
I have 82 ha-ha-ha-ha-has written.
Okay, sympathy for the ginger. Very good. So we're all sticking together except for Tori's picking the Jets. All right, our first wild card game. Give me the Rams -7 over the Bears. I think Jay Cutler might throw 3 pick sixes in this game. St. Louis is 3-1 at home against the spread. I love their front seven. I love the speed they get on their surface at home. I think it's the new greatest show on turf. Tori?
I am going with Panthers and Panthers -6 against Titans. I believe in the power of the Panthers, and as long
don't believe in the Titans.
As long as people keep underestimating them, they're going to keep winning.
Okay, Danny.
My first pick is Broncos -6 against the Chiefs. I think Manning looked rejuvenated after the bye, and I think he'll continue to roll against the secondary. Plus, who really cares about the offense? It's the defense that wins games, and even without Ware, they're solid.
Okay, and your second wild card?
I'm going Raiders -3 because, hey, guess what? The Bay Area has a good football team.
Yeah, just one. Just one. We're keeping it at that. Victoria?
I also took Chiefs Broncos. I took the Broncos because the Broncos are still somehow undefeated. Even
They're
though
not undefeated. They lost to the Colts on Sunday.
Or somehow still 7-1.
You're checking out. You're checking out today. We have enough people in the studio. I'm just going to go ahead and mute Producer Tory.
They're still 7-1?
They're still doing well.
You're off, Tori. I've kicked you off the show. She has thrown her pen in anguish. She'll be back for Tory Topics in about 15 minutes. Don't you worry. She always comes back. My last wild card pick, Redskins +1.5 over the Saints. The Saints are on the road. Let's lock in the home dog. I don't care who's playing. Kirk Cousins, my cousins, Kirk Cameron. I don't care who the quarterback is in that one. I hate that Saints defense so much. They're going to get punished on the road. Okay, we're going to take another look at one of our sponsors, Ken Keegan, local artist extraordinaire. He loves baseball. His Mets just lost in the World Series, but he still has the fire in his heart. He's also a rubbish baseball player, but a very talented artist. You can find his art on artwanted.com by searching his name, Ken Keegan. That's KenKeegan on artwanted.com. He's got lots of works up there you can view. We have some prints to give away as well. I'm going to start doing that next week when Joaquin painfully comes back. Thank you, Ken Keegan. Artwanted.com. Search Ken Keegan. All right, boys, you're back in. You didn't fall asleep during our pick segment. You fell asleep during the baseball segment.
I was getting worked up.
You're getting worked up. You know what I miss? The jacked up segment of NFL Primetime. You know the one where they showed all those guys getting concussions in real time?
Oh.
And then Chris Berman and Tom Jackson would all yell, "That guy got jacked!" Oh!
That was old school right there.
And then they made all these movies that you can't do that anymore because the guys are actually dying now. That was fun. So we're going to talk some more football because not enough people have gotten their heads bashed in on this show today. Aqib Talib of the Broncos. I watched this in real time, and I was just really disappointed in the player. He's had some trouble on and off the field in his career, but he's always been really talented. Von Miller's in a dispute with a Colts player, which, jawing back and forth, helmet to helmet, face to face, going at it, that's fine. Talib comes in, stage left, throws his pointed hand into the other guy's face mask, and Three Stooges zoinks him right in the eye. How is that appropriate?
Okay, first of all, you're one of the leaders of the defense, okay?
Why is he a leader?
Based on his play, I mean, he's one of the best there, and he's been there for a couple of years now. But listen,
DeMarcus Ware needs to beat the crap out of the
Okay, and when he sees Von Miller talking to Dwayne Allen, he obviously didn't know what was going on. So what would make him come over and blatantly put his fingers in the helmet? He made it so obvious, everyone in the stadium could see that.
The best part after the game, I was trying to get in his face. I wasn't trying to poke him in the eye. Wow. The eye poke was unintentional. What can you see through a face mask? Yeah. The bridge of his nose, the crinkles in his forehead. What are you going after that's not his eyeballs, his second most protective pair of circular objects in his body?
That's pretty malicious, too. Go after someone's eyes like that?
I thought you guys would react better to my testicle joke, but I guess not.
Went over my head.
They're usually between your legs or below your waist at least. So, yeah, Aqib Talib suspended 1 game. I thought that was a good call. I thought it would at least be a hefty fine. I was actually happy that they exceeded my expectations on that one. We just did the concussion talk about getting jacked up. This guy got jacked up. He's had at least 7 noted and listed concussions. His name is Wes Welker. Is he even the same person anymore? Is he ever going to be the same person?
He hasn't played since the last week of last season. There's a reason why he's been on his couch the last 9-10 weeks of the year. I mean, it's up to him. It's ultimately the doctor and his decision to play, but
it's not. It's barely the doctor's decision.
Right, and I just feel like he's 1 hit away from having long-term symptoms. I mean, there's a point where the last one it should tell him like this is the end of his career, and for some reason he just keeps coming back. I mean,
who knows? He could already be a couple hits past that point.
Right.
We don't know yet. We
right.
don't know it's gonna pan out later on in his life.
Well, it also might be impairing his judgment, which you just can't know.
Yeah.
He's 20th all-time in receptions in the NFL, and he came up in an era where there are a lot more receptions available. He's a very good wide receiver, probably not a Hall of Famer at the end of the day, considering a lot of his production came from, Thomas Brady and Peyton Manning sauce, 2 of the best quarterbacks of all time. So what is he really out there for? Trying to cement a legacy? Trying to make more money?
I'm guessing the money. That's the only thing I can really think of. And then again, the Rams are desperate for receivers. They're receivers.
Yeah, they worked out Hakeem Nicks, which
awful.
We all know. I worked him out for my fantasy team this year. No good, Huck. He showed up too, which was crazy. I was hosting auditions, and he definitely showed up. So
in person,
yeah. No, he was there. He's like, I'm Hakeem Nicks. Yeah, I'm in my shorts already. You need me to run? I'll do shuttle drills. I can do that ODB one-handed thing. I can do it. He couldn't do it. JT Barrett, and we're going to go over Derek's head into college here. I know Derek isn't the biggest college sports guy. JT Barrett reinstated as Ohio State's starting quarterback, coming back from a 1-game suspension for operating a vehicle under the influence, an OVI, which I've never heard of before.
I heard the story, and that kind of confused me too.
I think in different states they all have different names. There's DWI, driving while intoxicated. In California, it's definitely DUI, as we all know, because you and I, never mind, let's not get into that. I do not have a DUI, just for the record there. But Ruben, should the team have taken away his summer scholarship money? And should they be starting him already, even though they have other capable quarterbacks on the roster?
Well, okay, they definitely shouldn't be starting him already. I would have kicked him off the team. I mean,
you would have kicked him off the team?
Kicked him off the team. I don't care.
For a young kid?
Yes.
For a young kid to make one mistake like that?
It's too big of a mistake, in my opinion. If you're one of the leaders of the team, you have to set an example. And
you're all about leadership, Ruben.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you're going to be leading this podcast in a minute.
Leadership's a big thing. I mean, impressions is a big thing, and that's how people base you off your character. And for you to do something like that, when, like I said, you're one of the leaders of the team, you just can't. And then at a critical point in the season, too, I mean, as, the final stretch comes, no, I wouldn't give him a second chance for that, no.
Because Urban Meyer doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just cares about the zero in his life, which is the undefeated record. That's all he wants,
yeah.
And to win championships. And they're number 3 right now. They're in the top 4. They're in the hunt for that title. How far can you take a DUI suspension for a college kid? How much punishment? How much should they suffer?
What did they? I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the charge was, because it seems a little bit different. It was like a $400 fine. He had to take 1 day class or something like that. Did they say exactly?
It wasn't felony DUI, and that's
did they say exactly what it was?
He was backing up. I don't know. I think it was alcohol. It doesn't really matter. The kid made a mistake, but they're taking scholarship money away from him, and it's not like if he performs well on the field, he gets extra scholarship money.
Yeah.
So it can only go in one direction, and I think that's really unfair. I think they should have suspended him more games and not taken away any of his money, because they do. If you're on an academic scholarship and you get a DUI, does anyone even notice? It's a drop in the bucket. You don't get your scholarship taken away. If you get A, B in your 3 classes and you get a DUI, you get a degree. So I think it was really unfair. I know it was just the summer session. They're taking the money away from him, but I thought that was really unfair. I think they should have gone for 2 or 3 games, or maybe even held him out till the postseason.
But see, taking him out more games takes money away from them.
Kind of. I mean, people are watching these games anyway. They have Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones won them a title. He's never lost a game in his career.
But say they drop a game because, drop 1 or 2 games because he's out, and then they're out Of the top four?
Millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, that's fair, but you can't take money away from the kid unless you're going to pay him. You know, if Adrian Peterson...
Which we know is not going to happen.
Adrian Peterson gets suspended, take his money away because he messed up. He's an adult. He's a professional athlete. He signed that contract. He signed that personal conduct policy. But like I said, you don't take the neuroscience kid's scholarship money away because he got a DUI. I've never heard that story. I don't know how it would get traction anyway. But that's the end of my thought on that. So let's just spitball some football because we are out of topics.
Okay.
And now we have dead air. There are no winless teams in the NFL. We're not going to have an 0-16, which actually has proven to be harder in the NFL than 16-0. We know the Miami Dolphins did it. We know the New England Patriots have done it. Are any of these teams interesting you in a 16-0 season? How crazy would it be if it was the Bengals?
I don't see that happening. If there is a team of the three, I'd say New England again. But then again, I am a Giant fan, so they are playing us this weekend.
Wait, you're a New York Giants fan?
Yes, I am. And I'm not saying we're going to win, but if we do make the playoffs, we usually have that hot streak in the playoffs. So if we do make the Super Bowl and the Patriots are there, I would pick us to win it.
I would love a third Giants-Patriots Super Bowl because I love trolling the Patriots so hard. Tori's getting really excited. I'm actually going to turn your microphone on. Don't talk, but I'm going to turn your microphone on so you can try to earn your way back on the show and not throw any more pens in the studio. That's a one-game suspension. Derek, Patriots most likely to go 16-0 of all the teams?
Oh, yeah. I'd say it. They've been there before. Touchdown Tommy. Put the team on his back.
Never count out touchdown Tom. They do have to survive, and they do have a guy coming back, Jason Pierre-Paul for the Giants. What impact do you think he can make on this game specifically? Because that Patriots offensive line is starting to run out of bodies.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I didn't see anything against Tampa Bay. I was expecting our pass rush to get a little better, and it was non-existent once again. And like you said, I know the Patriots are struggling on the line. I mean, they are missing bodies, but I don't know. JPP can't do it all by himself. He needs other help, and we just don't have that right now. So I expect us to get blown out, even though I'm a Giant fan. We're going to get blown out.
So you're the negative Nancy. Yes. Derek's on the Blaine train over here.
Keep faith.
But the Patriots the only team they haven't beat since 2008 are the New York Giants. So
wow, that's an interesting one.
Yes, I probably jinxed it. I'm a big jinx, and that will probably end on Sunday.
Well, they beat them in the last regular season game before the second Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, so it might have been 07 then.
In week 17, when they were 15-0,
38-35.
Yeah, they scored a touchdown. I'm picturing it now. It's like the back of the end zone. They scored a touchdown to beat the Giants, and then the Giants got their revenge, of course, in the Super Bowl. Tori?
Tom Coughlin is 5-1 all time against Bill Belichick.
Yeah, we own the Patriots.
Well, let's not count any games that he coached as the Browns. That's not really going to count against Bill Belichick in the end of days when we're reading his googly. Derek, let's keep talking about Blaine Gabbert.
Okay.
How good can it get and how bad can it get? Can they get to 7 wins? Because we have a bet between us, you and I.
I think they have the ability to get to 7 wins. I think there's a pretty low ceiling and a pretty low floor.
Okay, so there's not going to be much vacillation between he starts throwing balls at receivers' feet and he throws 2 touchdowns max per game.
Yeah, basically. And I don't see them, winning out the rest of the season and getting to the playoffs, but I think they'll win at least 3 more games the rest of the season, if not more.
Wow, that's a pretty bold prediction.
I know, right?
Ruben, what has to happen for Jim Tomsula to get fired?
Oh.
It doesn't happen that often that coaches get 1 year, but it's such a dramatic drop-off from Jim Harbaugh that it may actually happen.
I would say not only losing, but it's how they lose. Like Miami, when you're getting blown out. I mean, that's the only way I could see him leaving. But then again, you have to consider the help he has. They have no offensive players right now. Carlos Hyde is out. They need him. They need something in the running game to help out Blaine Gabbert. Bolden was out this last week, but I think that's what owners and GMs don't really take into consideration sometimes. They react a little too fast, I think.
And they hired a guy with no head coaching experience when they had one of the 5 greatest living head coaches of football, period. College, high school, pro, doesn't matter. Jim Harbaugh is one of the 5 best coaches on the planet. How do you let a guy like that go?
That was a mistake, too. He proved himself. He made 3 NFC championships in a row.
And he just got Michigan relevant in 1 year.
Exactly. They're already ranked. They were ranked a couple of weeks ago.
They're a weird blocked punt return touchdown against Michigan State away from being in the top 10 now and maybe even in the top 5. So that's pretty crazy to have let him go. I'm going to do another ad read, and then I have have some 49ers nuggets to drop on you guys. On Walnut Street between Pacific and Cedar, 99 Bottles is your prime downtown dining and drinks destination. Look at all those D's I put in there. Drink selections from domestic, another D, to hard-to-find beers. A full bar, literally over 100, maybe even hundreds of choices. Derek, we love 99 Bottles.
We love it, absolutely.
We love to sneak in, grab a drink from our friend Luke, make him actually do work.
He's a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking guy.
So handsome.
He's very handsome. We all know Luke except for Ruben. Ruben, you're fired. You can also watch sports there. They have a great selection of pub food. They have trivia nights occurring right now. So if you're listening to us via podcast, every Wednesday you should go down at 8 o'clock. If you're listening to us live, have another drink on me.
Get the beer sausage. It's good.
You're going to tell our fans at home to have another beer right now.
Have another beer, too.
Yeah, and the sausage. Yeah, I do like it's the beer sausage sandwich, right?
Well, they have that, and they also have it with the German potato salad.
Oh, and you get the potato salad.
Oh, yeah.
That German potato salad is so good.
So good.
What makes it German?
It's cold.
It's cold and not funny. I had a factoid I want to tell you about because I was having my NFL friend Andrew. We're having a discussion about how many running backs the Niners have used this season because I haven't heard of these guys. You know, I'm looking at profiles on 49ers.com of meet Tavante Trevion, and I'm like, oh, that's a freaking Key and Peele character. You know, that's not a real.
Key and Peele.
Yeah, they do that football. I was just like, these guys aren't real. This is a DeBrickashaw Ferguson era or esque name. And I looked up 49ers all-time leading rushers, and I went through the top couple, and it gets pretty bad pretty early. Number 8 is Kevin Barlow.
Whoa.
And it's 8th leading rusher all-time on the 49ers. Derek, can you spell Kevin for me?
C. So on.
Kevan, Kevin Barlow. And I just thought that was amazing that he was so high on the list. Number 9, right behind Kevin Barlow, Steve Young.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
He's the 9th best running back.
I'm surprised he's not in the top 5.
Joe Montana's in the top 20, he's not even mobile. He crossed the line of scrimmage 3, maybe 4 times in his career. So I thought that was a pretty good stat to look up. You should actually peruse that list. Carlos Hyde's already in the 30s. Like, I think he's already way up there. All right, Tori, we're going to bring you on and do some Tori topics. I think you have a lot of stuff for us this week. We've got about 11 minutes. Pour it on us.
So, that ball Julius Pepper played keep away with.
Peppers. There's multiple of him.
Peppers. Played keep away with and threw away from Cam Newton. Cam recovered it and gave it to its intended fan, a 6-year-old who had recently lost his dad.
Yes.
Julius Peppers is a troll. How could you do that? I mean, I understand you're about to lose your second game in a row. I don't think he's trying to keep the ball away from the kid.
Well, he didn't know that was going to happen.
Stop the touchdown.
Yeah,
Stop
that's
the
true.
ball from crossing the goal line. Once it has crossed the goal line, get back on your side of the field. Line up in kick return coverage if you want to do something productive. Don't touch the football. Let Cam Newton do whatever he wants with it. He just scored on your team. Go away. I love Cam Newton.
And Cam Newton's not the type of dude that's going to adversely react. He's just going to laugh in his face about it and walk away.
And put a Gatorade towel on his
Well,
head.
he isn't here, so I'll say it for him. Cam love the kids.
Cam love the kids. All right, next story.
The list of the last 6 NBA players with 80-plus points and 60-plus rebounds in their first 7 career games: Shaq, Chris Webber, Tim Duncan.
I have it. Karl Anthony Towns.
No, Lamar Odom, Blake Griffin, and
Julia Okafor.
Porzingis.
Oh, Kristaps.
He's good. He's looking
So,
good.
are we gonna start calling him Porzingod?
Porzingis.
Or the Zinger?
Or the porcine princess. What are you gonna call him?
I like the idea of if he wins 4 championships, we can call him Foringsis.
Who wins 4 championships though? Like Robert Horry, Kobe, like maybe LeBron someday.
I just like the pun. Let me have the pun.
I don't like it. What do you think of Kristaps, Ruben?
He's looking good. He looks like a Dirk Nowitzki, a young Nowitzki. I mean, when he was drafted, I didn't know who he was.
It was a joke.
Yeah, you could hear the boos. It was tough in New York. I mean, I wanted to boo. I'm a Laker guy, but I mean,
you have an investment in the Knicks, though. You have that fellowship because your storied NBA franchise is owned by your former owner's idiot son.
Oh yeah.
So you have that connection.
Yeah, but I mean, Porzingis, if he keeps it up, I mean, he could be a really good NBA star.
If he's ever caught in like a cheating scandal, can he be like Porzingis or something?
Oh,
Wait, where is this guy from?
He's like Latvia.
Latvian.
He's Latvian,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So Kristaps, very common name over there. It means Christ Pops. It's a very popular cereal over there.
dude, it's 2 in a row.
It's Eastern Orthodox.
Oh my God.
What's 2 in a row?
2 terrible jokes in a row.
That was a good one. Everybody laughed.
I liked it.
Move on.
So, Zobrist gave his newborn daughter the middle name Royal.
Okay. He's been on every team. If he won with the Reyes, was his little kid going to be Ray? If he won with the A's, was his little kid going to be Oakland?
No, it would have been
A.
Stomper.
A. Zobrist.
Stomper.
Stomper. No, that's what Adrian Peterson would do. So, I can't help it.
Oh, snap.
I can't help it. You give me Chris Snap. Next story.
Odell is learning how to be ambidextrous and forcing himself to do everything with his non-dominant hand, even brushing his teeth.
He doesn't mean brush. Okay, let's not go there. I'm actually, I'm tired of ODB already.
Wow. How
I
could
think-
you say that?
Because his one-handed thing is cool. However, guys in the 60s and the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, they didn't wear gloves. They didn't get these little sticky impressions on the ends of their fingers to help them grab the football, to form fit inside the parts of the football that stick. Like,
Yes,
it didn't happen.
The gloves do help, but I will bet anything Odell could do that barehanded. Without gloves.
Yeah, but it's like he practices this. He's out on the field all day, every day doing this. Learn your route tree, man. That's like going into practice in basketball and practicing 360 dunks. You don't get to use those in the game that often.
Well, there are times if you're watching a Giant game, the whole game, there was one on the sideline. I don't know if you remember. He was out of bounds, but he made the catch. It could happen. You
I
never
saw that
know.
one, yeah.
You never know. It could happen when it counts or in a big part of the game. It's good to have athleticism.
But at the same time, everyone still acts like that catch happened last week.
That's
we
true.
keep-
That's true,
we
yeah.
keep
Because it still
seeing it's
feels like it happened
it's
last
like,
week.
Football with the Giants. Oh, that's the first thing you see, that Odell Beckham catch. And yeah, it was great. Probably the most amazing catch I've seen in real time. But
Ever.
Steph Curry hit an underhanded, 35-foot running three-pointer today because he thought he got fouled, so he tossed it at the basket and it
Unbelievable.
banked it in. That was pretty impressive play. Tori, feel free to weigh in on these, by
First-
the way. You have opinions. You don't just write stories.
First, the Clemson helmet.
Oh, right,
Then,
Ryan.
the comments about Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard and his general unattractiveness.
Wow.
Then-
You went there.
From
That's a
Rex,
great
from
beard.
Then,
Sexy Rexy.
a Twitter feud with Calvin Pryor. But this takes the cake. Rex Ryan named IK Enampali captain for the game. Is this classless, or is it Rex Ryan being Rex Ryan?
You guys don't know this, but Derek looks exactly like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's the Italian Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I was waiting to weigh in on that pick. I was going to pick Jets all day.
Yeah, I say Jets too.
That beard?
IK and Impali. First of all, did Ben Zobrist name him? What does IK stand for anyway? I have no idea.
He's Igbo Nigerian, so he
Okay.
has a very traditional name.
Long
Okay.
name.
Okay.
They
That
tend to
makes sense.
shorten them. I have a friend named Opayemi, and we all just call him Opie
Why don't we just call him Ike? IKE.
because
That's not his name.
because IK is his first and middle name.
I understand that, but I don't want to say Enampali all the time.
Why
either.
do we call him Easy?
Easy.
Easy walk to
Yeah, I can't even remember his last name.
Oh, I thought we were
Wachiku.
talking
No
about-
longer playing.
I thought we were talking about Easy E for a
I
second.
thought
I was
that
like,
was
oh, man.
Easy Wachiku. You don't even have an E in your name.
Joaquin would get mad. The thing is, all you have to do to come back at Rex Ryan is make foot fetish puns. I mean, he left it right out there. His wife has a Mark Sanchez, or he has a tattoo of his wife in a Mark Sanchez jersey. There's a butt fumble joke in there just waiting to happen.
my.
Oh, yeah.
So many things
That's
you can
not
do
true.
with Rex
That's
Ryan.
true.
Yeah, you
That's
could go
not
on
true.
about
Oh,
him.
my
Absolutely true. This is the biggest troll job in an NFL huddle or as a captainship since the St. Louis Rams, since Jeff Fisher sent out all the guys that they drafted with the RG3 picks, the picks that Washington sent over in exchange for RG3. They sent all those guys out against Washington as captains and then beat them 23-0 or something.
Right.
This is where the coaches get to have fun.
He's the Donald Trump of head coaches.
He's not the Donald Trump of head coaches. Donald Trump is the Donald Trump of head coaches. That wasn't an impression. I'm just sick. Next story.
Sure. Can we just talk about the weird dumpster fire that the Sacramento Kings are turning into in the last 2 days?
Are they going to fire George Karl?
I
You
don't
were
know.
there. You were there.
Okay, so far, Boogie cursed out George Karl in front of the team in the locker room.
Oh, that doesn't sound like Boogie.
Vlade came in earlier today and asked the players whether or not they should fire George Karl.
Ruben, what are Vlade Divac's credentials as a front office executive?
I mean, I just know him from the 30 for 30. That's all I.
And what are you? Okay, that's his credentials. What's your credentials? Because I bet they're better.
Yeah, I wouldn't say.
Have you watched a basketball game since 2005?
I have.
And
I
you
have
can work for the Kings.
I just know they signed a lot of players in the offseason. They have Rondo, right? Am I right? Okay, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's early in the season. There's 82 games, so I mean.
Yeah, and they're going to lose them all.
Karl yet again wanted to suspend Boogie, overruled by Vlade. And they're talking about Vivek, if it comes down to choosing Boogie or Karl, will choose Boogie because he thinks of him as the corner piece of the team.
Of course he is. I have to side with George Karl. I don't really care about his coaching. But as a man with two first names, George George, we have to stick together. So I'm going to stick with George Karl on this. He's a good NBA coach. They just don't know how to run that team. Vivek, the owner, has no idea what's going on. He's hiring people that just happened to play for the Kings in the 2000s, the last time they were good. So I don't know what's going on over there. All right, one more story. Let's get Derek involved.
All right. Most touchdown passes in the first 24 team games after being drafted. Dan Marino with 44, Peyton Manning with 41, and Derek Carr with 40.
Wow.
Carr going to take us far.
He has a great name. Great first name, at least.
Spelled the same way, too.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to spell? There's other ways to spell Derek,
That's the only
right?
correct way.
Two R's, an I, and C-A-K. There's Derek Marks. I think he's on the Jaguars. So
yeah.
No one knows who he is because he's on the Jaguars. He's way better than his brother. We can already put that in stone.
We want Carr.
I ended up on David Carr's Twitter page, which first thing he lists is Christ. So he's a big Kristaps Porzingis fan, too. You know what? I like having the Raiders relevant. I like that they have what I consider the new Andy Dalton to A.J. Green, the Derek Carr to Amari Cooper, though I think Derek Carr has more skills than Andy Dalton. I just think their quality of play right now reminds me of the Bengals, where they have a semi-competent passing offense, running game. I just kind of see them as that up-and-comer. They'll probably make the playoffs and lose like the Bengals do every year, but that'd be good for the Raiders fans. How good would that be for the Raiders fans?
Great. I think they're finally starting to make good picks.
Both of those Raider fans would finally be stoked.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
One of them, our friend C-Rain. All right, we've gone off the rails enough. Our final minute, I'm going to do some thank yous because I want to appreciate Ruben for driving up here. You drove almost an hour to be here tonight.
Yes, 55 minutes. But, I mean, it's a good experience. I was excited to be on this, and this was fun. I mean,
I hope you come back
football.
and do this again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So much fun. Throw out your plug. Throw out your station and what you're going to be doing.
So KRKC News, King City, California. I will be actually color commentating King City Mustangs, Gonzalez Spartans on Friday night. This Friday, actually. So
what time?
We air 7:30.
And your call sign for your radio station?
What do you mean by that? Like,
what's the on the dial?
Well, KRKC News, it's a 104.9 and 1490 AM.
Cool. They're going to appreciate that you know that. Derek, you can run into him at Woodstock's Pizza. Thank you for coming in, my man.
I came a long distance, too.
You did. You live across the street. Thank you to Producer Tory. Thank you to Chris Spencer behind the boards. My name is Thomas Todd. You're listening to Coach's Decision on KSCO 1080 AM, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey.